Hey Douglas, this is Rand Paul. How are you? Well, we're hoping we can get your support. What are some of the issues you're thinking about in making the decision on who you vote for? Yeah, we've tried that. I've gone after him a couple times in the debates, and some say it's worked, and some say it hasn't worked. The problem, I think, is when you're famous for saying outlandish things that really don't have to make sense or be factual, people don't get upset whether they're found to be factual or whether they're found to be nonsense. But you're right. I mean, it has to happen, and I think people have, and in the media, have allowed him to say whatever he wants to say, whether it's factual or not. Yeah, I agree, and I think that we have some various ways we can respond or try to defend ourselves. One of the things that I've said all along is that the best way to defend against ISIS to begin with is not to arm them or send arms to allies of ISIS. And believe it or not, that's kind of what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years in the Syrian civil war. You know, you have Assad on one side, who's a dictator, but on the other side you have the Islamic rebels, including ISIS, and us, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. We just poured tons of weapons into that war, but so many of those weapons wound up in the hands of ISIS. I mean, ISIS has $1 billion worth of U.S. Humvees, $1 billion of U.S. cash. They actually pay their soldiers with our money. They have our tanks. They've got our anti-tank weapons. It's sort of a disgrace and an insult.
Hello, Matt.
You know, that we have allowed so many weapons to flow into their hands.
I was just calling from the Rand Paul campaign.
Now I think ultimately, in combating them or trying to have a final answer is that I don't think ultimately American boots on the ground are the answer. I think the answer, we can be helpful, but I think the answer ultimately needs to be Sunni Muslims, Arab boots on the ground, because they're never going to accept a victory from us. Can we militarily defeat them? Yes. But once we wipe them out or they slither away, they see us as Christians and invaders and infidels, and then they recollect in another format, another nation, and then they come forward. So I think that our allies in that area that are Sunni Muslim need to be told they need to quit funding these folks and that they need to be part of the solution, not the problem. Yeah, every day I'm trying to, stop it and put in place and replace it with more of the free market and capitalism. There are things in medicine that work. Health savings accounts works, allowing competitive bidding for things like, in my field, I did eye surgery. LASIK surgery wasn't covered by insurance, and the price came down every year for 20 years. Same with contact lenses, typically not covered by insurance, and yet the price came down every year because competition, does work. So I've been for trying to get more competition in healthcare, more health savings accounts, but you have to also legalize the sale of competitive insurance products. Under Obamacare, it's illegal to sell cheap insurance or inexpensive insurance because all of the insurance under Obamacare has to cover certain items. I kind of jokingly say, my 22-year-old doesn't need pregnancy coverage. He doesn't need any inducement to have children. He's not married. And so why do I want my 22-year-old kid to have pregnancy coverage or pediatric dental coverage or all these mandates? But what it ends up making it is more expensive for people just getting started.
Hi, my name is Carl, and I'm a volunteer with the Rand Paul campaign. Calling to ask about your interest in the presidential primary.
Who don't need to be spending $10,000 a year on insurance. They need to be spending $1,000 or $2,000 and having a higher deductible.
Have you decided yet who you're supporting for president in the New Hampshire primary? You have not.
So there are all kinds of ways we can fix it. We just made the mistake of going the wrong direction.
And do you have a favorable opinion of Rand Paul?
Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for your consideration.
Is there an issue that's most important to you?
Senator, you just had a conversation with a voter. It seems like you might not have persuaded them. I was just wondering if you might want to...
No, actually, I think they were. They were leaning in our direction and were non-committal one way or the other, but they said it was between myself and Ben Carson. They liked the fact that both of us were physicians, and they liked the fact that the decision-making process was a more rational one, and they were very critical of the media attention that had been lauded on Trump. They thought it was really bad for the party and bad for America that so much attention was lauded on, such craziness.
Do you think not closing the deal with that voter might be emblematic of your campaign?
Actually, I think we did close the deal. He was very sympathetic and said that he was leaning in our direction.